When ego leads, failure follows close behind. A quote by Anonymous. Is it better to be loved or feared? A question that has been posed in the movies, books, and on TV. But what answer is applicable? Because love is blind and fear invites danger. Throughout life, we encounter challenges, scenarios that force us to either walk hand in hand with our ego or allow the prideful side of us to submit to an easier will. Whether good or bad, every action has a consequence. But what happens when a bad gesture comes from pure intentions? And although your heart was in the right place, the outcome is irreversible and the pain is forever untouched. This is the story of Lila Christian. February 5th, 1999. The world would make way for Lila Christian. She would be born to her mother, Rachel Manzano, and her father, Charles Christian. Life for Lila would start off a little bit rocky. In the early years of her life, her father wasn't around, and her mother struggled with addiction. Lila would be her mother's firstborn child, and with her struggling with the habit, she would eventually end up in foster care. Luckily for Lila, she would receive a foster parent, a woman who goes by the name of Shalandra. Lila would be born and raised in the Sacramento, California area. She would begin her education at John Reith Elementary. She was smart, attentive in class. She was also someone with a sense of humor. As a child, things were going okay. She had a great foster mother, someone who truly cared. And although she wasn't raised by her biological parents, she wasn't lacking love. She had a great support system. She also had friends who loved and adored her. As Lila began to get older, her foster parent began to have trouble with her health. Around this same time, Lila began to have a change in her behavior. Now, I'm not sure whether it was her behavior or her foster mom's failing health that landed her back in state custody, but either way, she would. In fact, she would be transferred to a group home. While in this group home, she alleges that she was violated several times. She says that she can remember being in pain and screaming, but no one could hear her and no one was there to help. She would often take to social media to vent. She would talk about her biological parents, how it was their fault that she was living the life that she was living. She would vent about not having a normal family or how this would affect her for life. I want to be clear. At this time, her biological parents are in her life. She would talk to them every now and then or see them every now and then. She also had biological siblings who she kept in touch with, but with them not being a family unit, she felt the effects. With her being young and having to go through so much, she was dealing with a lot and she would slip into depression. She would then begin to turn to drugs and alcohol just to try and numb the pain. In fact, she refers to it as being able to heal the things that time couldn't. Although she may have felt short-term relief from the feeling, it did nothing to help. In fact, she would slip further and further away. She would begin to question her place in this world, whether or not life was worth the pain. She was now thinking about ending it all, and she even tried one time, but she was unsuccessful. For a 15-year-old girl to be going through so much in her head and so much in her life, I'm sure it was hard for her to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But to add insult to injury, the group home that she was staying at wasn't a good one. She would often allege that they were practicing illegal things, that she and other people who lived there were mistreated. Though she would often vent, her words would fall on deaf ears, and she would continue to silently cry for help. Although she felt alone, she wasn't exactly alone. She was still in contact with her foster mother. She was in contact with her biological parents. She also had other family members and friends, people who stuck by her. But the emptiness was still present. It was something that she couldn't seem to shake. But even while going through so much, one thing was clear. She was a fighter, a survivor. And although times were trying, she still managed to keep a smile on her face and bring joy to those around her. For those who knew and loved her, she was known as Lila, the charismatic, fun-loving, loyal person, someone with a huge heart, a person who truly put others before herself. Fast forward a few years. It's now the year of 2018 and she's 19 years old. This would be the year that she would find something to live for. She would learn that she's about to welcome a child into this world. Upon learning that she was pregnant, it was scary in the beginning, but she was also elated. She vowed to give her child the life that she never had. As far as motherhood, she was great. She loved being a mom. With a newfound life to take care of, her mind would begin to change. She was thinking about going back to school. She wanted to further her education. That way she could give her son the life he deserved. Sadly, she would never see this come to pass because fate had other plans. February 5th, 2020. The Roseville, California Police Department would be dispatched to a local fire station. At the time, they are responding to a call about a victim, someone who was inside of a vehicle and wounded. A passenger who was in the vehicle with the victim would run into a local salon and plead for help. But by the time help arrived, it was too late. The victim would be positively identified as 21-year-old Lila Christian. Luckily for the investigators, it wasn't a whodunit. They already knew. At the same time that they responded to the call at the fire station, they were also responding to a call at Vineyard Gate apartment complex. They are responding to a call about a physical altercation, an altercation that ended up in gunfire. Witnesses on the scene report hearing arguing, and then it turned physical. And shortly after the shots were fired, they saw vehicles fleeing the scene. When officers arrived, they would be greeted by a woman who goes by the name of Brittany Holton, as well as her boyfriend, Jordan Townsend. They would both detail that Brittany Holton is the one who fired the weapon, but she did it in self-defense. On that day, Brittany Holton had injured two separate people. One person was struck in the leg. They were taken to a local hospital, and they would survive. The other victim would be hit in the torso region. That victim was Lila Christian, who wasn't so fortunate. But although she claimed self-defense, both Brittany and her boyfriend would be locked up. Brittany Holton would be charged with murder. As far as her boyfriend, he would be locked up on unrelated charges.
Jordan Townsend and Brittany Holton are behind bars after yesterday's deadly shooting at this Roseville apartment complex, but investigators are not releasing specifics about the case, saying only he was there when Brittany Holton shot two people, killing 21-year-old Lila Christian.
Certainly the young man just stormed in and asked for help.
10 minutes away from the apartments, surveillance video shows a man with striped pants running into a Sacramento County nail salon. Owner Alex Tran says the man was trying to get to the hospital.
Anybody speak English and stuff like that, ask for direction to a hospital because my friend got shot.
Tran follows the man outside, giving him directions, but then remembered there's a fire station right across the street.
Usually they're not there. But, lucky that they went over there and still have somebody in the station.
The woman who'd been shot died in the car.
And they said, well, there's a lady in the car get shot. They had a hole in the head. So I go, well, okay. Then the cops start wrapping up there so I can see it all, what's in the car.
Investigators are trying to figure out why the woman who died, who was from Sacramento, was at the apartment when the shooting happened. Neighbors who watched detectives work still have a lot of unanswered questions.
While incarcerated, they would continue to proclaim their innocence. While investigators were working to get to the bottom of the situation, the media would reach out to Jordan Townsend in order to do an interview. And during this interview, he would offer up his version of events.
Sitting in an orange jumpsuit with cuffs around his wrist, Jordan Townsend defended his girlfriend, Brittany Holton.
I don't know why she would be charged for murder if she was just trying to protect herself from being jumped on and kicked on and while she's pregnant.
The 27-year-old says when he and his girlfriend pulled up to their Roseville apartment Wednesday afternoon, a group of people were waiting outside. Townsend says he thought they were there to pick up a birthday gift.
Just wish I never went home at that time, that's it. And probably none of this would have never happened.
The couple walked into their apartment. Townsend says he FaceTimed his dad, while his girlfriend went back to the car to get her phone.
I was on FaceTime while you just hear gunshots. And then Brittany came upstairs crying with blood down her eye. I'm thinking she was shot.
Townsend said the group attacked his girlfriend, who he says pulled a gun and shot two people to protect herself.
My dad said, call the police, that's what I did.
Townsend says this was the second time he called 911. The first was when he got home and saw the group. This time, he says he told officers about the shooting.
They pretty much told her to take the bullets out, put the gun up, and wait till the cops get there.
Brittany Holton was charged with murder.
As I stated, Jordan Townsend wasn't locked up for charges relating to what happened to Lila, but he was being charged with something just as serious. Due to the rules of YouTube, I won't say exactly what he was charged with, but I will say the initials, a big H and a big T. In layman's terms, he was basically using women for monetary gain. The authorities never released details on exactly what got him charged, but nonetheless, these are charges that he denies.
I just feel like they didn't have nothing on me, so they just put anything they can to keep me, because somebody ended up passing away.
Have you ever done anything like that?
No.
Let's rewind back to February 5th of 2020. Both Jordan Townsend and Brittany Holton claimed self-defense, but it was a total lie. They also claimed that they had no knowledge that a physical altercation would take place. That was also a lie. This was, in fact, an altercation that was planned. On the day that Lila Christian went over to the Vineyard Gate apartment complex, she was accompanied by her little sister and an unidentified male. Lila and Brittany then began to get physical. But the real question is, what was the motive? Now I want to be clear. Everything that I say from here on out is hearsay. If you know me, you know that I like to get every single detail. So I reached out to everyone. The first person I contacted was a foster mom. And sadly, I didn't even know when I contacted her that she had passed away. I then proceeded to reach out to a few of her friends via Facebook Messenger, but I got no answer. As far as the people that did reply, I got different answers for the same question. So I'll give you the information that was consistent. Now, this beef originally started with Brittany Holton and Lila's little sister. Somewhere down the line, Lila Christian gets involved. Again, she was there to take up for her little sister. Now, Lila was someone who, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Lila stood on business. She wasn't going. She didn't take anything from anyone. I've actually seen a few videos of her past altercations, and she had hands. So when she showed up and put the paws on Brittany, she couldn't take it. Brittany got upset, grabbed a weapon, and she retaliated. On that day, Lila's little sister would be the one who was struck in the leg and sent to the hospital. As for Lila, well, we all know what happened. I was also made aware that Lila didn't know that she was pregnant. In fact, I was told that Brittany wasn't pregnant at all and that everything was a lie. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. Again, this is all hearsay. Let me say this loud and clear. I do not condone violence. I always believe that there's another way to handle the situation. And with that being said, if you came for one of my family members, you would get the same in return from me. I see nothing wrong with what Lila did. She was protecting her family. And before you judge, take a look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, would you do the same for your blood?
When tomorrow starts without me, and I'm not there to see, if the sun should rise and find your eyes all filled with tears for me, I wish so much you wouldn't cry the way you did today, while thinking of the many things we didn't get to say. I know how much you love me, as much as I love you, and each time that you think of me, I know you'll miss me too. But when tomorrow starts without me, please try to understand that an angel came and called my name and took me by the hand.
In the end, Lila was a fighter. And I'm not talking about just physically. I mean mentally as well. She had to face the harsh reality of being a foster child. And on that same plate, she had a biological mother who struggled with addiction. In fact, she says that one of her biggest fears was losing her to it. She came to a point in her life where she didn't even want to exist. But like the tough person she was, she overcame that. She lived a life where she allowed her heart to lead. And in the end, her heart would be her downfall. When she passed away on February 5th of 2020, it was her birthday. Lila had just turned 21 years old, and instead of dressing up and getting pretty and getting ready to cut a cake, she was out protecting family. She was once again putting others before herself, and those who knew and loved her truly lost an angel on that day. Time has now passed since the altercation. In the year of 2022, Brittany Holton would plead out. She would be allowed to accept a lesser charge. She is now in the Women's Correctional Facility in California, where she would be eligible for parole in the year of 2029. As far as her boyfriend, Jordan Townsend, he was never charged in connection to her death. He was always locked up on unrelated charges. I'm not sure exactly how that turned out for him, but I can tell you that he wasn't released from jail until 2024. What happened to 21-year-old Lila Christian is completely heartbreaking. She was someone who was loved. She was cherished. Someone who provided great memories for everyone around her. She was a great parent, and sadly, her son now has to grow up without a mother. It's truly devastating. Rest in peace, Lila Christian. Thank you for being a light for others.